Welcome to Survivors Truck Talk. I'm James. If you're new here, this is a platform that we use for the personal development of truck drivers. This is the first time I'm going live, guys, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm not too familiar with this live feature, but I decided to try it out today and just break the ice. But what we want to do in this live, if you're joining or you're just hopping on, what we're trying to do is develop a personal development platform for truck drivers. So while this live is warming up again, my name is James with Survivors Truck Talk. And what we like to do here is talk about personal development for truck drivers. I've been truck driving for about 5 years now. And as a truck driver, I understand the ins and outs of those stresses out there as a truck driver. We have long hours. We have stress related to bad dispatch managers sometimes. And also sometimes we are not eating right and we have to find parking late in the evening. All these things add up as truck drivers. Again, I've been doing it for about 5 years. In 2020, I decided to get my CDL license, and that's when I decided to come into this industry, of course, to make a little bit better money, to provide better for my family, and things like this. Now, I have been in the personal development and spiritual realm for over 20 years now. I started in my early 20s, around 23. I have been talking about spirituality, and also, I have practice with working with people and groups of people, talking about how to just improve our lives. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm from South Texas, and right now I'm currently in South Texas, and there's a nice cool front right now, so I decided to do this live outside. I just want to share a foundational platform for us as truck drivers that we can apply. Again, I'm taking my experience from over 20 years of talking about personal development and spirituality, and I came up with a platform that's easy to follow. It's a series of steps that we can implement in our lives as truck drivers, or if we are trying to achieve transformation, this is definitely a platform or a series of steps that we can take to help us become better versions of ourselves or just trying to achieve transformation. So we're going to dive into this platform right now, or this series of steps or foundational series of steps that I believe that can help us as truck drivers. And if you follow along, each step has a letter, of course, that we can remember. And this step spells out the word spirit, Spirit. And so the first step that we want to do is when we are having challenges in the trucking industry or in our personal life, whether that is financially, whether that is with our health, or whether that is just something that is bothering us in our life that we are trying to change, maybe in intimate relationships. But the first step that we want to do is we want to spiritually surrender to the situation. This does not mean that we are a doormat. It doesn't mean that we are going to be taken advantage of. That's not the kind of surrender what we are talking about. What we are talking about here is that we embrace and accept the situation as is, because sometimes when we continue to fight the situation, when we continue to just get frustrated, it doesn't allow us to accept the situation. We are fighting against it, and it makes it worse. And so this is like throwing coals in the fire and just making that fire worse. And I realize that there's a lot of frustrations and stresses out there in the trucking industry. We have dispatch managers that are always on us, always trying to tell us to be on time for a delivery. And we are being micromanaged, and no truck driver wants to be micromanaged. We are getting sometimes not the pay that we deserve for the hours that we work in an entire week. All these things accumulate. And when we fight and fight against those things, it makes the situation worse. If you have just joined us, what we're talking about is a platform or a series of steps that we can take to help us as truck drivers for our personal development. And I have just shared the first step is to surrender to the situation, to not fight it, because we can make things worse when we don't accept that this is our life situation. And again, it could be anything, not just in trucking. It could be something that's happening in our family or with friends that we are trying to resolve, and we have not developed a plan or a solution. And so the first step is to embrace it, accept it as it is, because if we do not do this, it's going to make the situation worse. So the second step that we want to consider, this is the P in the word spirit, as these series of steps spell out the word spirit. And so the P is that we want to live in the present moment. Sometimes when we are thinking too much about the past and the future, it robs us of that peace and joy that we deserve. And we all know this, that we get caught up in that mindset of negative thinking. And when we do that, we cannot focus on what is right in front of us. You know, what is right in front of us is sometimes the peace and the presence that we need. Because when we go down that rabbit hole and that repetition of negative thought, it's not going to leave room to enjoy even the smallest things. Maybe in your intimate relationships, you don't say thank you enough to your partner. If you do, that's great. But what I'm trying to say here is sometimes we take for granted even the smallest things. And we simply want to express gratitude, live in the present moment. That's the P in this step. And just know that we are surrounded by many things out here that can help us. We have a lot of things at our fingertips to help us in our personal development. So step one, embrace it, surrender to the situation. Step two, what we want to do is live in the present moment. So step three is to actually internalize positive thought. And what we mean by internalize is not the negative internalization. That is when someone may say that we are a certain way and we start to internalize that in a negative way, and we start to believe that it is true what this person said about us. And it can go either way, but the I is positive internalization. What does this mean? It means that I'm going to set aside limiting beliefs. It means that I'm not going to let someone tell me who I am and my character. I'm going to practice to do good and to do positive thought exercises. This is the positive internalization. And so what this does over time, it starts to mold us and shape us into the character that we want to become, or we practice virtues. We practice things like patience, especially in the trucking world. You and I both know that we need a lot of patience in the trucking industry.